When someone ignores you, it hurts. You feel rejected, confused, maybe even angry. But here's the truth most men never understand. A woman walking away is not the end of your power. It's the beginning of it, because the moment she pulls away, you finally discover who controls your emotions. Her or you. Today, we're going to talk about the Stoic mindset every man needs when facing rejection, silence, and emotional distance. Not to manipulate women, but to become mentally strong, calm, and impossible to break. Comment, I'm untouchable, if you're ready to watch this video till the end and transform your life. Number 1. Focus on your life. The first lesson is simple. When she walks away and suddenly acts like your existence means nothing to her, your mind immediately starts spinning because 1 minute she gives you attention, affection, late-night conversations, interest, eye contact, energy, and suddenly she changes her behavior without warning, and now you sit there staring at your phone, trying to understand what happened while she continues posting online, laughing with friends, viewing your stories, living her life as if nothing changed. And this is exactly where many men lose themselves, because instead of returning to their purpose, they place all their attention on her silence, her distance, her mixed signals, and they slowly become emotionally trapped by a woman who is no longer investing in them. The same way, and what makes this situation painful, is not only her behavior, but the fact that deep down you know you are giving someone emotional power over your peace, while she sits comfortably, knowing you are thinking about her every single hour of the day. And this is why your life must become bigger than any woman, because the moment your emotional stability depends on her messages, her approval, her attention, or her presence, you place yourself in a weak position without even realizing it. And many men refuse to admit this because they are addicted to the emotional highs she gives them, addicted to the validation, addicted to the fantasy that if they say the right thing or act the right way, she will suddenly become consistent again. But the truth is harsh, because when a woman knows your world revolves around her, she slowly stops respecting you. She sees that your purpose disappears the moment she enters your life. She notices you are too available, too emotionally dependent, too focused on her every move. And instead of inspiring attraction, it creates emotional exhaustion, because women are drawn toward men who are focused on building something meaningful in their own lives. Men who wake up with purpose, direction, discipline, ambition, and self-control. Not men who sit around waiting for replies while neglecting their own growth. And this is where Stoic thinking changes your entire mindset, because you stop chasing what you cannot control and start mastering what you can control: your body, your habits, your thoughts, your discipline, your reactions, your time, your energy, your future. And suddenly the situation that once destroyed your confidence becomes the exact situation that transforms your life. Because instead of spending nights replaying conversations in your head, you begin building yourself into someone stronger, calmer, sharper, more disciplined, more emotionally stable. And this shift changes everything, because now her silence no longer controls your entire mood, and many men hate hearing this. But sometimes a woman walking away is the greatest thing that can happen to you, because pain exposes the areas of your life you have been neglecting. It reveals your emotional dependence, your lack of purpose, your weak routines, your need for validation, and it forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth that you stopped making yourself the priority a long time ago. And this is why strong men use disappointment as fuel, because they understand something most men never learn. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is responsible for building your confidence except you. And if your entire identity collapses because one woman becomes distant, then your foundation was never strong to begin with. And this realization changes a man, because now he stops begging life to be easier and starts becoming mentally stronger. Instead, he starts waking up earlier, training harder, speaking less, observing more, controlling his emotions instead of letting emotions control him. And over time, he becomes dangerous in the best possible way, because he no longer needs constant attention to feel valuable. He no longer panics when someone pulls away. He no longer loses sleep trying to force connection where effort is no longer mutual. And women notice this immediately because emotional discipline stands out in a world full of emotional chaos. And while many men spend months trying to figure out how to get her attention back, the smarter man asks a different question entirely. Why did I stop focusing on my own life in the first place? Because that question forces introspection, it forces accountability, it forces growth, and growth is where your real power begins, not in controlling women, not in manipulating outcomes, but in mastering yourself to the point where no person can emotionally destroy your direction in life. And once you truly focus on your own mission again, something strange starts happening. You become more attractive without trying, because there is something magnetic about a man who is deeply invested in his own growth, a man who values his time, protects his peace, builds his body, sharpens his mind, and refuses to waste months emotionally suffering over someone who willingly chooses distance instead of communication. And many men need to hear this clearly. If she truly values you, she will make effort, she will make time, she will communicate, because people prioritize what matters to them. And while that truth hurts, accepting it frees you, because now you stop creating excuses for behavior that continuously drains your energy. You stop romanticizing inconsistency, and you stop lowering your standards just to keep someone in your life. And from that moment forward, your entire perspective changes, because your life is no longer centered around chasing affection. It becomes centered around building strength, purpose, clarity, and peace within yourself. And ironically, that is when people begin respecting you more, because the man who focuses on his life, instead of obsessing over her behavior, becomes emotionally unshakable. And emotional strength is rare today, extremely rare. Number 2, protect your energy. The moment she starts becoming cold, distant, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable, many men immediately abandon their own peace trying to hold on to someone who is already pulling away. And this creates one of the most exhausting emotional cycles a man can experience, because now every small action from her controls your state of mind. One delayed reply ruins your mood. One dry message makes you anxious. One ignored text keeps you awake at night. And while she continues moving through life normally, your mind becomes trapped inside confusion, overthinking, and emotional tension. And this is exactly why protecting your energy becomes one of the most important skills you can develop, because many men do not realize how quickly emotional obsession destroys their confidence, their focus, their discipline, and even their self-respect. And the hardest truth to accept is that some women fully understand the emotional effect they have on men, and still continue giving mixed signals, because attention gives them validation, emotional control gives them comfort, and knowing a man is constantly thinking about them feeds their ego, even when they have no serious intention of building something meaningful with him. And this is why you cannot blindly give your emotional energy away to every woman who enters your life, because not every woman deserves deep emotional access to you. Not every woman values loyalty, consistency, honesty, or effort. And many men learn this lesson only after emotionally exhausting themselves, trying to prove their worth to someone who continuously treats them like an option instead of a priority. And Stoic discipline teaches you to observe behavior instead of becoming consumed by emotion, because emotions without control lead men into humiliation, desperation, impulsive decisions, sleepless nights, and emotional dependency, while emotional discipline creates clarity, patience, awareness, and strength. And this changes the way you handle people completely, because instead of reacting immediately to every shift in her behavior, you begin stepping back and observing the situation calmly. You stop forcing conversations. You stop chasing explanations. You stop trying to decode every little thing she says, and you begin accepting one powerful truth. If someone genuinely values your presence, effort will never feel one-sided for long, and this realization saves men years of emotional suffering, because many men spend months trying to revive situations that are already emotionally dead, while ignoring the damage it causes to their own mental state. And protecting your energy means refusing to emotionally collapse every time someone changes their behavior toward you, because your peace cannot survive if it depends entirely on external validation. And many men struggle with this because deep down they attach their self-worth to female attention. So when she becomes distant, they immediately assume they are not good enough, attractive enough, successful enough, interesting enough, and this mindset slowly destroys confidence from within, because now your entire identity depends on whether she gives you approval or not. And this is why emotional control is true strength, because the man who protects his energy understands that his value does not decrease simply because one woman fails to appreciate him properly, and this mindset creates emotional freedom, because now you stop begging for consistency from emotionally inconsistent people. You stop trying to earn basic respect, and you stop draining yourself, trying to keep someone interested who continuously creates confusion in your life. And many men need to understand that confusion itself is often the answer, because when someone truly wants you in their life, their actions become clear, their effort becomes clear, their communication becomes clear. But when a woman constantly leaves you emotionally uncertain while expecting your attention, your patience, your understanding, and your emotional investment, she slowly pulls you into a cycle that weakens your peace and distracts you from your own growth. And protecting your energy means refusing to participate in that cycle any longer, because your life matters more than emotional games, your purpose matters more than temporary attention, and your future matters more than chasing someone who repeatedly creates instability in your mind. And once you truly understand this, your entire presence changes, because now you move differently. You stop reacting emotionally to every little thing. You become more observant, more disciplined, more grounded, and women notice this immediately because emotional stability is rare among men today. And while many men become emotionally reactive the second they sense distance, the emotionally disciplined man remains centered within himself because he understands that peace is power, self-control is power, emotional discipline is power, and nobody deserves access to your mind if their presence continuously destroys your peace instead of adding value to your life. And once you fully accept that truth, you stop becoming emotionally available to people who only appear when it benefits them. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as confusion, and you finally begin protecting the most valuable thing you have, your energy, your mind, your direction, and your inner peace. That is exactly why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint for Men, a powerful ebook filled with timeless Stoic principles designed to help you break emotional dependence, rebuild your self-respect, master your emotions, and completely transform the way you handle women, relationships, and life itself. And now for the first time it's also available in audiobook format, so you can listen to this life-changing knowledge while walking, training, driving, working, or jogging, allowing these lessons to reshape your mindset daily until emotional discipline becomes part of who you are. The link is pinned in the comments, and the powerful part is this book becomes yours forever, meaning whenever life tests you again, whenever someone disappoints you again, whenever you feel lost, emotionally drained, or disconnected from yourself, you can return to these lessons any time you need guidance, clarity, strength, and direction, instead of trying to survive these situations alone. And in the coming weeks I'll also be launching the Stoic Relationship Blueprint course for men who truly want to master emotional control, discipline, confidence, relationships, and self-respect on a deeper level. So comment Blueprint right now if you want early access before it officially launches. Number 3. Let her feel your absence. Most men destroy their own value the moment she starts pulling away, because instead of stepping back with dignity, they immediately begin chasing harder, texting more, explaining themselves more, giving more attention, showing more emotional urgency. And what they fail to understand is that desperation silently destroys attraction faster than almost anything else. Because the moment she realizes you cannot emotionally handle her absence, she unconsciously understands that your happiness depends on her presence. And from that moment, the balance completely changes, because now she knows she has emotional control over you, while you sit there hoping one more message, one more conversation, or one more attempt will suddenly bring back the version of her that once gave you effortless attention. And this is exactly why letting her feel your absence becomes powerful, because many men are constantly available, constantly watching, constantly reacting, constantly trying to maintain connection, even when the woman herself is slowly withdrawing effort. And the harsh truth many men avoid accepting is that some women lose respect for men who become too emotionally dependent on them, because once she notices you are always there, no matter how poorly she behaves, no matter how inconsistent she becomes, no matter how little effort she gives back, she subconsciously stops valuing your presence the same way, because human nature rarely appreciates what feels permanently available. And this is why emotionally disciplined men understand the importance of distance, silence, patience, and self-control. Because when you stop constantly seeking her validation, you begin reclaiming your power. And no, this is not about manipulation. This is not about childish games. This is about self-respect. Because there comes a point where repeatedly forcing connection with someone who keeps creating distance slowly destroys your dignity, your confidence, and your peace from within. And many men sit in silence every night, pretending they are okay, while secretly checking their phone every few minutes, hoping her name appears again, hoping she suddenly returns with the same energy she once gave them. And this emotional dependency quietly drains the life out of them, because their entire emotional state becomes controlled by one woman's inconsistency. And this is why Stoic discipline matters so much, because it teaches you to stop attaching your peace to external behavior you cannot control. It teaches you to stop reacting impulsively to emotional discomfort, and instead of desperately trying to force outcomes, you learn to stand firm within yourself, even when situations disappoint you. And once you truly understand this, your actions begin changing naturally, because now when she becomes distant, you do not immediately panic. You do not rush to fix everything. You do not embarrass yourself trying to regain attention from someone who is willingly creating space between you. Instead, you quietly redirect your energy back toward your own life, while allowing her to experience your absence fully. And this is where many men finally begin seeing reality clearly, because when you stop flooding someone with endless attention, excuses, emotional reassurance, and constant availability, their true intentions eventually reveal themselves naturally, because a woman who genuinely values you will notice your absence and make effort, while a woman who only enjoyed the attention will simply continue searching for validation elsewhere, and painful as that truth may be. Accepting it saves men years of emotional exhaustion, because many men are not attached to the woman herself. They are attached to the emotional fantasy she created in the beginning, when she gave them intense attention, consistency, excitement, affection, and validation. And once that version disappears, they desperately try to bring it back, instead of accepting the reality standing directly in front of them. And this is why emotional discipline becomes life-changing, because you finally stop clinging to potential and start observing actions instead. And actions always reveal the truth more clearly than words, and many men need to hear this clearly. If she can ignore you for days while posting online constantly, laughing with others, entertaining conversations elsewhere, and acting completely unbothered while you sit there emotionally suffering, then you must stop placing her on a pedestal, because the longer you worship someone who treats you casually, the more damage you cause to your own self-respect. And this realization becomes a turning point in a man's life, because now he stops asking, "How do I get her back?" and starts asking, "Why am I giving someone this much power over my emotions?" And that question changes everything, because now the focus shifts inward. Now introspection begins. Now growth begins. Now discipline begins. And this is where real transformation happens, because the emotionally strong man understands something many men never learn. Your absence only has value when your presence had value first, and the way you increase your value is not through begging for attention, but through becoming someone whose time, energy, discipline, ambition, and peace are deeply meaningful. And once you fully embrace this mindset, something powerful happens within you, because now silence no longer terrifies you, distance no longer destroys you, and her inconsistency no longer controls your emotional state, because your confidence no longer comes from female validation. It comes from self-respect, purpose, discipline, and inner stability. And ironically, this is often the exact moment women begin noticing you differently, because the man who can peacefully walk away from emotional chaos without losing himself becomes extremely rare today, and rarity creates respect. Number 4. Build a strong mind. Weak thoughts quietly destroy more men than any difficult situation ever could, because the real damage does not begin when she ignores you. The real damage begins when your own mind turns against you and starts convincing you that her behavior defines your worth, your attractiveness, your value, and your importance as a person. And this is why building a strong mind becomes absolutely necessary, because many men are physically alive but mentally trapped inside insecurity, emotional dependency, self-doubt, overthinking, and constant fear of losing someone who is already showing signs of emotional distance. And the painful truth is that when a woman pulls away, many men immediately begin attacking themselves internally. Instead of observing the situation rationally, they replay conversations endlessly, analyze every message, question every word they said, blame themselves for things outside their control, and slowly become consumed by anxiety, while she continues moving through life normally without carrying the same emotional weight. And this is exactly why emotional discipline separates strong men from emotionally unstable men, because the disciplined man understands that thoughts are not always reality, emotions are not always truth, and discomfort is not a reason to abandon self-control. And once you begin applying this mindset consistently, your entire life changes, because now you stop allowing temporary emotional pain to completely destroy your thinking. And many men desperately need this realization, because their minds become prisons. The second female attention disappears from their lives, and this creates dangerous emotional dependence, because now every interaction with women determines whether they feel confident or worthless, powerful or weak, valuable or invisible, and no man can live peacefully while constantly handing that level of emotional authority to other people, especially women who themselves are often emotionally inconsistent, emotionally impulsive, and heavily influenced by attention, emotions, and external validation. And this is why Stoic discipline teaches you to separate your identity from temporary situations, because a woman changing her behavior does not erase your value. Her silence does not define your future, and her inconsistency does not mean you are inadequate. But many men struggle to understand this because they spend years building their confidence around external approval instead of internal stability. So when attention disappears, their entire emotional foundation collapses instantly. And this is why strengthening your mind becomes one of the most important things you will ever do. Because a strong mind protects you from emotional chaos, protects you from impulsive behavior, protects you from humiliating yourself, chasing people who continuously disrespect your peace, and protects you from becoming emotionally controlled by every woman who enters your life. And many men fail here because they believe emotional strength means suppressing emotions completely, when in reality, emotional strength means observing emotions without becoming consumed by them. It means feeling disappointment without losing your direction. It means experiencing pain without abandoning your self-respect. And it means accepting uncomfortable truths without emotionally collapsing under them. And once you truly develop this ability, you become extremely difficult to break, because now your confidence is no longer dependent on whether one woman texts you back or not. And many men never experience this level of emotional freedom because they continuously seek validation externally, while neglecting the inner work necessary to build genuine confidence. And the truth is uncomfortable because building a strong mind requires honesty, accountability, discipline, and introspection. It requires you to confront the habits, weaknesses, emotional addictions, and insecurities that you normally distract yourself from. And many men avoid this process entirely because distractions are easier than self-reflection. Temporary pleasure is easier than discipline, and emotional dependency is easier than personal responsibility. But eventually life forces every man to confront himself whether he is ready or not, and the men who grow from painful experiences become wiser, calmer, more focused, more emotionally stable, while the men who refuse introspection remain trapped, repeating the same emotional patterns year after year. And this is why painful situations often become the beginning of transformation, because discomfort forces awareness. Awareness forces reflection, and reflection forces growth, if you are willing to face yourself honestly. And once your mind becomes stronger, something incredible happens, because now you stop reacting emotionally to every little thing women do. You stop chasing closure from emotionally unavailable people. You stop begging for consistency from inconsistent women, and you stop allowing temporary situations to dictate your emotional state, because your peace now comes from within instead of external approval. And that kind of inner stability changes every part of your life, because the man who masters his own mind becomes calmer under pressure, clearer in difficult situations, more disciplined in relationships, and far more respected by others, because emotional control is rare, genuine confidence is rare, and inner stability is extremely rare today, especially among men constantly seeking validation from women who themselves are still searching for validation everywhere they go. Number 5. Become hard to replace. The greatest response to her walking away is becoming the version of yourself she never expected you to become, because while many men waste months emotionally suffering, stalking social media, chasing explanations, begging for attention, and secretly hoping she suddenly returns unchanged, the emotionally disciplined man quietly transforms his entire life in silence. And this is where true power begins, because instead of allowing pain to destroy him, he allows pain to sharpen him, strengthen him, discipline him, and force him into becoming someone far more valuable than he was before. And this mindset changes everything, because now her absence no longer becomes the end of your story, it becomes the beginning of your transformation. And many men fail to understand this because they become so obsessed with losing the woman that they completely ignore the opportunity standing directly in front of them, the opportunity to rebuild themselves mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and spiritually into someone stronger than they have ever been before. And this is why some of the strongest men are created through disappointment, because painful experiences force introspection, force accountability, force growth, and force men to confront uncomfortable truths they would otherwise continue avoiding forever. And the truth many men avoid is that before she walked away, they had already stopped fully respecting themselves. They neglected their goals, neglected discipline, neglected purpose, neglected their physical health, neglected their emotional control, and slowly built their entire emotional stability around female attention without realizing it. And once that attention disappeared, they suddenly felt empty, because their identity had become attached to validation instead of self-mastery. And this is exactly why transformation becomes necessary, because no woman should ever have the power to completely destroy your direction in life. And once you truly understand this, your mindset begins changing rapidly, because now instead of asking, "How do I make her want me again?" you begin asking, "How do I become the strongest version of myself possible?" And that question changes your entire future, because now your energy shifts away from emotional desperation and toward self-improvement, discipline, purpose, and growth. And ironically, this is often when women begin noticing you differently, because there is something deeply attractive about a man who channels pain into progress instead of emotional chaos. And many men underestimate how powerful silent self-improvement truly is, because while emotional men talk endlessly about what they plan to do, disciplined men quietly build themselves day by day without needing validation from anyone, and over time this consistency completely transforms their presence, because now they walk differently, speak differently, think differently, and carry themselves with calm confidence instead of emotional insecurity. And women notice this immediately, because true self-respect cannot be faked, emotional discipline cannot be faked, purpose cannot be faked, and many women become uncomfortable around men who genuinely know their value, because those men cannot be easily manipulated through attention, emotional inconsistency, or validation games. And this is why becoming hard to replace is not about money alone, looks alone, or status alone. It is about becoming mentally strong, emotionally disciplined, physically healthy, purpose-driven, self-aware, and deeply grounded within yourself. Because a man who masters these areas naturally becomes rare, and rarity creates value everywhere in life, and many men need to hear this clearly. The goal is not revenge, the goal is not proving something to her, and the goal is not becoming bitter toward women entirely, because bitterness destroys peace just as much as emotional dependency does. The real goal is becoming so focused on your own growth that nobody's inconsistency can destroy your direction anymore. And once you reach this level of emotional stability, your entire life improves, because now relationships become additions to your life instead of emotional lifelines. And this creates healthier dynamics naturally, because you no longer tolerate disrespect out of loneliness. You no longer chase emotionally unavailable women for validation. And you no longer abandon your own standards simply to avoid being alone. And this is where many men finally experience real freedom, because they stop living emotionally controlled lives and begin building meaningful lives centered around discipline, purpose, clarity, and self-respect. And the powerful part about this transformation is that it extends far beyond dating, because once you become emotionally stronger, your decisions improve everywhere, your confidence improves everywhere, your discipline improves everywhere, and people begin treating you differently because they sense stability within you, they sense self-respect within you, and they sense that your life no longer revolves around external approval. And this is why becoming hard to replace ultimately has very little to do with her and everything to do with the relationship you build with yourself, because once you genuinely value your own time, energy, discipline, peace, and future, You stop settling for relationships that continuously drain your spirit instead of strengthening your life, and from that moment forward, your entire path changes. Because now you are no longer desperately searching for someone to complete you. You are building yourself into someone complete already, and that changes everything. Society teaches men to chase attention, ignore their pain, tolerate emotional confusion, and hand their peace away to women who give them the bare minimum, which is exactly why the Stoic relationship blueprint for men exists, a life-changing ebook filled with timeless Stoic principles that immediately transform the way you think, act, handle women, and handle yourself. And now it's also available in audiobook format, so you can absorb this powerful knowledge while walking, driving, training, or jogging, because this is not temporary motivation. This is wisdom you will carry for the rest of your life, and the link is pinned in the comments. I'm also building the Stoic Relationship Blueprint course, launching in the coming weeks, for men who are truly ready to master emotional control, discipline, confidence, relationships, and self-respect on a deeper level before life breaks them repeatedly, the same way it breaks emotionally weak men every single day. Comment, I choose discipline. If you're ready to take your power back, like this video, and subscribe to help more men discover these truths before they waste years chasing validation, losing themselves, and learning these lessons too late.